What's going on there, fellow YouTubers? This is Chris from the Msss Anomalies channel. Okay, guys, this is about the third time I'm redoing this video because I'm trying to cram a lot of information into one shorter video if I can, but I end up tripping over my tongue. So I'm going to try to slow it down a little bit. So if it's a 4-hour video, so be it. I won't be quite that long. Don't worry. But all right, this is for basically the naysayers, but more for the people who are on the fence. In other words, the people who are saying, "Look, I believe what NASA is saying is true, but you guys show some interesting theories, so who's correct?" I'm not going to try to, convince you of that I'm right. I want to show you some inconsistencies and make you question, yeah, is it a possibility? First of all, we keep saying that, I keep saying that there's a lot of anomalies that are on the ground on Mars, and what they're doing is they're making these things look like rocks. And one of my subscribers, he goes by Rares Carez, he sent me a picture and said, "Hey, you got to check this out, dude. You just have to check it out." So I said, okay. This is what he sent me right here. Now, it says right here, giant statue adorned with jewels, down spaceship or base. Now, I don't know how far this thing is away. He didn't give me any sol, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to tell you why. I don't know what this thing is, but I can tell you it's not a rock. And I'm going to show you a couple small details that you may not see, even though this is enhanced. But let me just make something clear right now. This is going to be no Photoshop. In other words, he enhances, but I'm going to use none of that. And the next huge topic I'm going to go over has nothing to do with a particular rock. It's the whole Mars itself. So let's move on. When you look at this picture, you see it's been enhanced. I'm okay with that. But what I'm seeing is what looks like mechanical parts that are covered and made to look like a rock. I'm going to show you that right now. Now, this picture, he has enhanced this one a little bit more, where it's a little bit more sharpened. I'm going to show you the other one he gave me. It's not quite as sharpened, so we can see this detail just a hair bit better. First of all, excuse me, I'm looking at this right here on the gray side right here. And I'm seeing this. If you tilt your head all the way to the left, it looks like an S kind of shape here. But of course, that could be anything. It just could be just the way this thing is detailed. But it's kind of gray right there and coming off the side. And then I notice this other gray area right here. And I'm saying, it's kind of shiny. Is it a shiny plastic, like a highly polished plastic or some kind of aluminum? People go, well, you're silly because if there was anything that was metal on Mars, it would be completely gone, be rotted away by now. First of all, we don't know how long there was life on this planet or there wasn't, meaning there could be life still there. If the atmosphere doesn't have the acidic rain like we have, or a lot of rain like they say that they hardly have ever had because it's a cold and barren, dry planet, then, then how would anything rust? So, although there is water in the soil, but this is above the ground, as you can see. But anyway, I'm looking at this here and I'm going, okay, why does this look like it continues on over to here like this, but yet this half is stone? Well, that's the key. They're trying to dress this thing up to make it look like nothing more than rock and only leaving part of it exposed. When you go to the end of this, I don't know if this is the front in front of the rear, but it doesn't matter. Check this out. It looks like some kind of weird, almost like a camera lens right here. This round circle comes up like this with this tab, and it has this other small, looks like a little circle right there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but right there. And it looks like it has this round circle. Now, in this round circle, it almost looks like if you were to look at put a speaker in your hand, like a car speaker or something like that. It looks like you have the rubber around the edge, the paper cone itself, and then what looks like it'd be a dust cover. And of course, you're looking at this from the left angle, and you'd have the like little domed dust cover over the center of the cone. So I thought that was pretty weird. But you look at this here, but then if you look at it here, it almost looks like the shape of like a soft drink can. You know what I mean? It has this cylindrical kind of look to it going over to here. But notice how this has all been put on here to make it look like a rock. It's not a rock. And if you look right here, it has this weird 90-degree angle, a small one right here. Is that the mounting surface that this thing actually is attached to? Okay. Now, as I was zooming out of this, I said, whoa, wait a minute. There's more to this. Check this out. This part looks like a plate right here. It goes across, up this little step, goes across, comes back down, has a small little intricate detail, and comes straight down with a nice edge to it. Okay. Went to go pull away again. I said, whoa, what is going on here? Check this out. I thought it went down like this, and then had an angle. You can see a faint line right here, and one coming up here, but it has this rounded area here, goes straight, then wraps around over to this. Look carefully. it almost looks like a dog bone feature. See it? It actually comes like this, goes like this, comes back out, and goes into here. It's almost like squarish here, but you can see it right there. The line goes right through this mess, and this manipulation, it goes like this, and it has a small pin or some kind of round circle right there, and it has this piece right here. You got to read in between the lines, so to speak. But this here clearly does not look like a rock. It looks like they try to dress it to look like a rock. And if you look at the gray hair, it almost looks like the gray hair on this piece. And it's this whole plate. This whole thing is something totally, totally different. It is not a rock. Now, so thank you, Carez, for that. I'm glad he brought that to my attention because that is pretty neat. And when you got to read between the lines in this thing, guys, because they are trying to make things that are clearly sitting on the surface. And like I said before, why would they just have rovers just roaming the surface of Mars, just taking random pictures? They're not going to do that. They're going to stop and say, whoa, whoa. As they're just filming this, because they probably have live feed. I'm sure they have live feed on this. They're cruising along. Oh, wait a minute. There's a place of interest. Let's go take a look at that. Well, instead of this big, what looks like a rock, there's probably a bunch of machinery or something laying here. And, of course, they analyze it, zoom into it. If they got instruments, if they're hitting it with instruments, like with the laser, and see if anything comes off it, like a certain chemical or whatever, they can register that. And then they go, okay, guys, go to town on this thing. Just go ahead and dress it up, make it look like a rock. So, now, whether you believe that or not, that's totally up to you. Now, something a little larger picture, we're going to go to the actual whole Mars. Okay, so now, let's go to the polar caps. This, to me, is of interest, and I'm going to get into a little bit more deeper about the weather there, temperature, so on and so forth. Okay, here we go. Polar caps. This is the northern one, October 1996, January 1997, and March 1997. Large, medium, small. Okay, well, guess what? There's a lot of similarities to Earth. We already know that. Okay. Where do our ice caps go when they melt? Now, although these ice caps are not as big as Earth, but neither is Mars in comparison. I think it's got like 11% of Earth's mass. If I read that correctly. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. I know on our planet, we have both ice, water ice, as well as carbon dioxide. What is carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is, from at least on Earth, is made up of it could be anything natural, like volcanoes, trees themselves being cut down, or I don't know if it's just a regular, I don't know if it's deforestation or if it's just forestation, but, and then you've got man-made, carbon dioxide, which is like this burning of petroleum and fossil fuels and so on and so forth. Now, if you read this right here, it says global warming on Mars. Wait a minute, we got global warming on here, and of course that's highly debatable. Do I think that we have global warming here on Earth? Absolutely yes. Unequivocally yes. But it's not an Earth thing. It's a solar system thing. And everywhere else that the sun is actually showing onto or reaching out to. So it is warming, period. Now, do we have any part to play in our global warming and the greenhouse effect getting larger and larger? Yes. We're not the sole reason why for global reason, but we are attributing to it. We are actually adding to it. So what happens is this carbon dioxide settles on these poles and turning this ice to like a brown, a darker brown. Well, you look at the contrast, you put white in the sun and you put dark color in the sun, what's the difference? Well, the polar caps normally would reflect heat and light. Well, now that the carbon monoxide, or not monoxide, but dioxide, settles upon the ice, well, now it's brown. Well, it absorbs light and heat. Therefore, we're accelerating the actual melting of our poles. So, question. They say that Mars' atmosphere has a lot more of carbon dioxide in its atmosphere than we do here. Then how does Mars have any polar caps at all? That's what I want to know. It just doesn't make any sense. And, again, where's the water going? And how is it returning? How are these caps returning? It has to have precipitation. And if it has regular water ice, it's H2O, period. So if this stuff is melting, I can almost promise you there's at least lakes, very large lakes, and bodies of water. Now, my buddy Will over at What's Up in the Sky 37 has actually videos showing lakes and large bodies of water. So, again, people who are naysayers need to look into this. This is just common sense. I'm not using any Photoshop to doctor these pictures up. I'm showing you what these people are showing. and actual information. Now, let's say, okay, let's go to the amount of water that's in the Martian surface. Okay. Mars soil contains a huge amount of water, reports NASA's Curiosity rover. If you heat up a cubic foot of Mars soil, Martian soil, whatever you like, you can harvest around 2 pints, 1 liter of water, according to new data returned by NASA's Curiosity rover. This isn't just a one-off lucky find either. It seems that most of the dirt on Mars harbors large amounts of water. Now, I think I think here on Earth, I think it's supposed to be like 10 times more in our soil than they do have there on Mars. Nonetheless, there's still an abundance of it. This is very exciting news for future human exploration of Mars because it's prohibitively difficult to transport water from the surface of Earth to the red planet. And in one fell swoop, it also makes the eventual terraforming, imagine that, terraforming and colonization of Mars a lot more feasible. Now, a lot of people argue the point, well, there's no way in hell you could possibly terraform a whole planet. I think it would take quite a bit of time if you could do it. Now, or is the atmosphere thicker on Mars than what they're saying? What I'm getting at is if it is, let's say it's only slightly less than Earth, well, then it wouldn't take much to tweak it to get it to where you could literally walk around with no breathing apparatus or anything of that other sort. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. And again, I'm just stressing the point. I think they're lying about the atmosphere itself. I don't think it's quite as thin. I'm not saying it's not thin. I'm just saying it's not quite as thin. So, this amazing finding comes from data gathered by Curiosity's sample analysis at Mars, or the SAM, onboard laboratory, which performed a series of tests over a few weeks at the Rocknest site. Rocknest, you guys know, is huge. It's got a lot of, oh my God, it's got all kinds of anomalies in there. Back in the fall of 2012, the SAM contains 3 instruments: the quadruple mass spectrometer, or the QMS, tunable laser spectrometer, the TLS, and the gas chromatograph, the GC. But it is the results of the last instrument, the GC, that we are most interested in. And of course, it breaks it down to H2O, SO2, O2, and so on and so forth. And it shows you taking the soil, so on and so forth. And I'll give you the link to this, guys. So now my thing is, okay, if there is this much liquid, or H2O, in the sand, or below the surface of the Martian surface, okay, you go to the equator, it's actually pretty warm there. And I'm going to show you, because I've been saying this for a while, that it gets anywhere between 70 and 80 degrees at the equator. And I believe it's actually warmer than that. Well, I'm going to show you next that that's absolutely true. And, okay, so this much water in the soil, you're telling me it can't be evaporated out of the ground? I don't believe that. So if it's evaporated, and I believe it does, if it's evaporated, and of course enough of it is being evaporated, the clouds can no longer hold it, you have precipitation. So you have a water cycle, and I've been saying this. Now, let's go to the climate of Mars, right here. Okay, so now, you've got right here, it says, it talks about the flybys, the Mariner 4, you got the Mariner 6, the Soviet Mars 2 and 3. Like this one here says, carried infrared detectors to measure radiant energy. Mariner 9 was the first to place an infrared radiometer and spectrometer in Mars orbit in 1971, along with its other instruments and radio transmitters. So that's pretty cool in itself. But now it gets into variances of the temperatures. Differing, and this says in situ, which is basically location it means, differing location values have been reported from the average temperature on Mars, with a common value being negative 55 degrees Celsius, or negative 67 Fahrenheit. Surface temperatures may reach a high of about 20 degrees Celsius, or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, at noon at the equator, and a low about negative 153 Celsius, or negative 243 degrees Fahrenheit at the poles. Tongue-tied again. All right. Actual temperature measurements at the Viking landers site range from negative 17.2 degrees Celsius, or 1 degree Fahrenheit, to negative 107 degrees Celsius, or negative 161 Fahrenheit. Okay. The warmest soil temperature on the Mars surface estimated by the Viking orbiter was 27 degrees Celsius, or 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the Spirit rover recorded a maximum daytime temperature, or air temperature, in the shade of 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And regularly recorded temperatures well above the 0 Celsius mark or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, except in the winter, which is common sense. So my thinking is, if there is a thinner atmosphere, well, then when the sun does come through, there is no filtering, so therefore it heats up the surface quickly, and of course the second it goes down, it just gets really cold, which you'd get your thermofrost, or your permafrost rather, but to me, you would have to have these pretty violent, maybe short storms, because you're going from weather extremes to really cold to really hot. There has to be some kind of turbulence. Therefore, there has to be some kind of storms. Now, I'm not saying this with absolute because I'm no atmospheric expert, nor am I a meteorologist. But just by reading this, I'm just saying it's kind of a safe bet, but you guys can give me your take, because I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. Now, going back to the Martian polar caps, I want to show you this because I don't know if I read this, but the northern cap, the polar cap, has a diameter of 1,000 kilometers during the northern Mars summer. And I'm saying to myself, wow, that is just like, that's 621 miles. That's pretty big. So, you know, like I said, when you take into that consideration all that melting there, you've got the water content in the soil, coupled by temperatures of up to 95 degrees, and that was in the shade. In the shade of 35 degrees Celsius. So it's probably tipping over 100 mark without the shade. So come on, guys. Now, you know, again, you have this radiant cooling the second the sun goes down because there really is no atmosphere. But if you get a bunch of clouds, like we do here on Earth, we get a thick cloud cover. Well, the temperature doesn't seem to drop as fast at night like in the wintertime. It seems to hold the heat in. Well, if you get that, I mean, it's going to be some crazy weather. That's why you see these dirt devils or dust devils and so on and so forth. But come on. If you got these kind of temperatures, like I said, with this kind of soil, and you've got the polar caps, and they go, well, it's too cold for it to turn into ice. I mean, to water. As far as the polar caps, I'm going, but there's pictures showing it's disappearing. So it's not too cold, because if it was too cold, this wouldn't melt. Somebody's full of crap here. Something doesn't equate. So, again, I'm trying to use a little common sense, and I'm trying to analyze this, and I'm just going, wow, I just don't see it. Something's not right. I think the atmosphere is actually thicker than they're saying. And, like I said, with all of the heating and the amount of water on this planet, now I'm not saying there's an abundance, but, like, if you look at here, which is funny, because people go, it's a red planet. Well, I'm not seeing a red planet here, nor am I seeing it here, and here. I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing blue and red. Now, what would happen if you were to take all the water off of Earth tomorrow? If you could just take it all, every drop right off, well, you'd see a lot more landmass too. That doesn't mean there wouldn't be any water at all. I think there's large lakes on this planet, and I think they have an active water cycle which replenishes it. Because guess what? If this is doing what it's doing, well, you can see it's large, medium, and then small. It grows every single season as well. It has precipitation in order to make this cap grow. What does that tell you? There's a water cycle here. And they're not just saying it's all carbon dioxide. They're saying layer of water ice. Water ice, I don't give a crap what you call it. H2O is it's solid form, liquid form, as well as a gaseous form. It's still H2O. If you got a fog outside, it's H2O. Unless, of course, it's mixed with other chemicals in the air, but you know what I'm saying. But regardless, it's still H2O. So you have to analyze things like this. Every time NASA tells you a certain thing, pull it apart. That's the bottom line. That's what this video is really about. Pull these things apart and what they're saying. Now, don't get me wrong. You might come upon something that says, I don't know, it's talking about a certain mountain, and they'd be 100% right. Oh, okay, so they're correct. All right. But there's some things that just doesn't make sense. And like I said, you got people saying, well, it's a red planet. Well, no, it's not. It's both. It's both blue and red. And the reason why you see this light spectrum is because of the actual particles in the air and water crystals and so on and so forth, all this list of stuff. So if you're seeing that, people will say, well, it's actually monochrome and that, you know, it's the artist's rendition. Well, then why use those colors? Why not just use, you know, any other color? Why not just use the monochrome? Why put any color in at all? You can use black, white, and gray. You can show clouds like this here. You can show clouds like that, and it'd be gray. You don't have to put color in this. Not all of them are monochrome. A lot of them are actual true colors. And this, to me, shows atmosphere. And like I said, if we had a lot more land mass, you would see a lot more of this too. So give it some thought, guys. Analyze this thing yourself. Tell me what you think. And And like I said, a lot of people just want to be quick to just dismiss what we're showing here on these particular videos, whether it be mine or anybody else's. But the people who are on the fence, all I'm asking is that you analyze this stuff yourself. And for the naysayers, do the same. If anything, be more adamant. Let's say you go, well, I think your video is full of crap. You know, this is still not, I don't believe it. Then fine. Instead of saying, coming out with moronic comments, how about just saying, hey, how about we do this? I'm going to look into it myself. I'm not going to be led by the nose. I'm going to check it out myself, and I'm going to analyze this myself, like I tried to do here. Now, I don't have all the answers. I'm just reading what I'm reading here, and I mean, it doesn't take much. If you can read, if you're literate, you can read this stuff and go, wow, yeah, well, why does it differ from what NASA's saying? Doesn't make any sense. Well, that's what these channels are all about. My channel in particular. I'm trying to find the truth. I'm not trying to blow smoke up people's rear ends. I could care less about that. It's not about views. It's not about anything. It's because people want to know what the real truth is. So, anyway, guys, like I said, I figured I'd analyze that. And like I said, I didn't want to use an ounce of Photoshop. I wanted to show everybody just inconsistencies. And I want your take on this, guys, because I'm sure there's a lot more smarter people out there that know more about the atmosphere. And, the people, I'm sure some people will say, well, you don't understand. There's X amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. I get it. I've read a bunch of it. Not just what I've just showed you guys, but I've read a lot more on it. And I get it. But there's still ice water on these caps. And even if some of this water, like in the lakes or whatever, it's got some carbon dioxide in it, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean life forms cannot, they can't adapt. They can't evolve over years like we have done on this planet. We will, unless there's a total catastrophic change on this planet, we'll survive. If it's slow, the planet slowly evolves, we'll change with it. And we'll adapt. Just like that planet did. Now, how long ago this planet was, had its atmosphere ripped apart, who knows? I still, in my own personal opinion, and I'm not saying this, everybody has to believe this, I believe it has a thicker atmosphere than they're saying. Due to just the colors of the planet, due to just because I believe it has a water cycle, I believe you can see the pictures, the polar caps are melting, and then they're I'm going to use the term regrowing or reoccurring in the colder seasons. Come on. Something has to drop water on those areas. It just doesn't get any easier. And of course, and like I said, I don't know why there's even polar caps to begin with when they got that much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, period. You would think there'd be none. So there's some inconsistencies, and I'm trying to pull that apart. If anybody's got the answers, by all means, throw it down below. Tell me what you think. But it's just, the idea of my channel is to be thought-provoking, to get you to question. Nothing more, nothing less. Doesn't matter if you agree with what I say or point out. It's to make you say, well, yeah, I mean, really, what's up with that? And try to answer the question yourself. Anyway, guys, made this video long enough. I do appreciate it. I've only made this video about 3 or 4 times, and I try to minimize it so it wouldn't be too long, but yet I wanted to try to cram all the information in. I didn't get into all I wanted to get into this, so there may be a second part. And then we're going to be getting back to, look for my next video coming up, the 67p. That is already on deck. I've already, because I'm making this video, I've made it about 3 or 4 times already, this one here. So that one's already on deck. It's ready to be uploaded as well as this one right now. This one will be uploaded soon, and then the other one within the next day or two. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Always appreciated. Throw some comments down below. Let me know what you think about the atmosphere and what's going on with these caps. Let me know, throw some thumbs up. Share this video. Let's get people thinking. Let's say, yeah, what is up? Are they telling the whole truth? Maybe I'm totally wrong. But from what I read, I don't think so. But again, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Always a pleasure doing the videos for you, and I'll see you next pick.